a lot of times what the imposter syndrome comes up for is because we're starting something new. What comes up is that little fear about, am I good enough to do this, to pull this off?
Welcome to the podcast, Keeping It Real, the Purpose-Driven Life with Laura and Lynn.
Tune in for candid conversations, practical tips, inspiring stories, and actionable advice on navigating life and business.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Keeping It Real, the Purpose-Driven Life with Laura and Lynn.
Yes, and today's episode is on fear and the imposter syndrome, something that many of us actually go through in the course of either starting a business or even in having a position in a workforce. You can go through this imposter syndrome and it comes up just when you don't want it to come up, of course. But a lot of times what the imposter syndrome comes up for is because we're starting something new. Say we've been doing a position for a while, but we've decided to start our own business. And then all of a sudden we're in the middle of it and we go, what the heck, who do I think I am? Now I'm doing this on my own. I think I can do this? And so the imposter syndrome can come up many times when we're starting a new venture. And it comes up because we don't actually know everything that's going to happen. So if you've been in a position like your current career is 5 years, 10 years, even 20 years, after a couple of years, you know the position, you know everything. You walk in the door, you know what you're doing throughout the day. And so there's this knowing inside of you. So what happens sometimes though, when you go out on your own or you even go into a different position, what comes up is that little fear about, do I know? Am I good enough to do this, to pull this off? And so that's that little nagging in the back. And that's that little person sitting on your little shoulder over here that you want, shh, quiet, I can do this. And so essentially what the imposter syndrome is doing is just waking you up to letting you know your potential. So it's actually, it's a wake-up call to actually go forward, actually, the imposter syndrome, even though it feels sometimes a lot different than that, and it makes you want to stop. It actually just wakes you up and lets you know that, hey, you may not know everything, but go forward and things will come to you. That's the most important thing you can do with the imposter syndrome. It's actually not accurate because it comes up because it feels like you don't know what you're doing. And yet, let's face it, if you're in your 30s or 40s or whatever, you've been doing life on many years. And as things come up, you're able to handle them. And that's the most important thing you can gain on that imposter syndrome is that, hey, I know what I'm doing. I've done things in life and I can do this. So no matter what, we believe in you. So go forward. Laura?
Yeah, so I was going to say it tends to affect perfectionists as well as people pleasers and those that may have procrastinated because of the fear. And it also, research shows that it affects women. So women in particular are susceptible to it because they start to question any accolades that they've received. So I think it's really important to acknowledge that if you're feeling that imposter syndrome, that's perfectly normal. A lot of high achieving people do. And so it's really something to just say, okay, I hear you, I get it. That critic on your shoulder, like, yeah, I see you, I understand that you're just, want to make sure I'm not getting, ahead of myself or I'm not thinking too big about myself. But the reality is that it's simply an ego mechanism that you have to work past. And so there are some steps for how we can reframe our thinking around imposter syndrome. So really focus on the facts. If you are interested in a particular business, it's because you have a passion for it. It's because you really do want to succeed in that business. So you got to embrace that and you have to really channel that passion and then just acknowledge and let it go. Say, okay, yeah. I mean, we've all felt it. I've, been a professor for, 20 years. And there are times when I'm still feel like, oh, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but I do because I've done the research and I've had lots of years of experience. So just know that the more, as you were saying, the more you spend time in a particular business, really, you do know what you're doing. You wouldn't be here talking with us if you didn't. And you just have to reframe those thoughts. Also be vulnerable, share how you're feeling. That's especially what we're here for with our group sessions or our one-on-one coaching, is really, if you want to join us in a group conversation and our community of really just talking through how you're feeling and why you might be feeling that. Because we can learn from each other. We can learn from the peers within our community. And then, really once in a while, write down your accomplishments, really feel them, embrace them, know that it's okay to celebrate what you've accomplished. It's all right to be excited. It's all right to celebrate. I think that's really important. We don't celebrate ourselves enough.
Right. And speaking of the groups, actually, Dale Carnegie, he actually had a group of people that were around him. They would do a group, and he became very successful, actually, being in a group and then starting his business. So that's one of the reasons why we wanted to do that, is because when you have that support that's going to be positive behind your back saying, hey, go forward, you're good, it's okay. And other people have been successful. Why can't you? So yeah, for imposter syndrome, like Laura said, it's going to come. It may come up, it may not come up, but for whoever it comes up for, we have an answer for that. And Laura, did you go over the 6 steps?
Yeah, I'll go over them. So the step 1 is focusing on the facts. Step 2 is acknowledging that you feel it, validating that it is a true feeling, and then letting it go. And step 3 is go ahead and reframe what you're thinking. So that you can really see it and acknowledge, okay, this is a fear. I understand I'm feeling this fear because this is something new. 4, really share how you're feeling. Share that vulnerability with others. And that's, one of the things we wanted to talk about is join our group, join our community of like-minded people so that you can really learn from each other and you can know that you're not alone. And then step 6 is really pat yourself on the back, really feel your accomplishments, acknowledging them. Also, it's okay to admit when you have had failures, then they're less scary. There's so many great leaders out there that had to go through iterations and had to practice and try things before they hit 100% success. Now, working with us, you're going to get to success a lot faster because it's not going to feel like such a daunting process because you aren't going to be in it alone. I think that's really important to acknowledge, is that you're not in this alone.
Exactly, because the other thing that comes up is that, well, okay, then I need to have all the answers. No, you don't. You don't have to have all the answers. There's going to be other people around you that can help you and support you and help you go forward. So most importantly, whether that imposter syndrome comes up or the fear comes up, this is the most important thing. Go forward. Go forward. The majority of the people never even get off the ground.
Yeah.
So we want to help you not only get off the ground, get going, get forward, and then look back and go, oh, I'm so glad I did that. I'm so glad I took the steps. Hey, one step at a time going forward, and we're going to be there to support you all the way through. So don't worry about that. You're going to have the support, and we wish you all the best. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm thinking even of ourselves, when we launched this podcast, there was a little bit of intrepidation. There's some fear, like, oh, do we really know what we're talking about? And like, just like you said, we don't have all the answers, but we don't need all the answers because between the two of us, we bring a very diverse and multifaceted array of experiences. And so it's because we're partners. It's because we're embracing this as a joint partnership that we feel like, yeah, we've each experienced things that we can bring to the table. And that's part of the beauty of this, is that, as you reach out and talk to other people, that's when you learn, oh, yeah, I'm not the only one that feels this way. And just really important to acknowledge that.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's our show for the day. And we welcome you back next week. Remember, if you look down at the bottom, we'll have information about our groups. We have information about one-on-one coaching, modules, all kinds of things to help you get started. So feel free to go ahead and some free information on there as well. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.